Excellent. Welcome back to Nightmare Weekend 2024. And right now we have the amazing Fred Dekker with us, writer, director of The Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. I mean, the list could go on and on and on. But I think this weekend kind of belongs to The Monster Squad because of the amount of the cast we have reuniting, which I'm sure is exciting for everyone. Fred, when was the last time you guys actually had a chance to get together? At least this much of the surviving cast.
Honestly, I don't recall exactly, but it's been a long time.
That's got to be exciting for you guys to bring everything together.
Absolutely, sure.
I know a lot of you. You've spoke about it in the panels. Nobody expected this to be what it is this many years later down the line.
Certainly not, and it's a little bit of a. Can I swear?
Absolutely.
It's a little bit of a mindfuck because, obviously you make a movie hoping that it's going to reach an audience of any kind, hopefully a large one. And this one just sort of, it was a whimper and not a bang when the movie came out. And it was very disappointing for me personally because I sort of poured my heart and soul into it. And then time passes and you realize that people are beginning to slowly discover it, whether it's on cable television or, back in the day, VHS and then DVD and Blu-ray. And by the time it sort of hit me that people are discovering this movie, first of all, they're very young people, who weren't born when the movie came out. So there's this weird disconnect for me because while it's very touching, because finally it's found its audience, there's so much time has passed and such a disconnect from when I did it and expected or hoped for the response that it's like an echo in the Grand Canyon in a way.
I can imagine it be very bittersweet. I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
It's exactly right. That's a great way to put it.
That it's found its family nowadays, and it's hard from a fan aspect because it's hard for me to connect with the people that it didn't knock out of the park for. Because me as a child, this was being a horror fan from well, I don't remember a time I wasn't, and my father introducing me to all this stuff. But this film is one of two films. I literally ruined 3 different copies of the VHS tape. I had to force my father to buy 4 different copies because I watched this movie so much.
Wow.
That and Masters of the Universe
was
the other one. So
I have some trivia for you when you're ready.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yes, and so as a fan, it's hard to understand that, but as part of as the person who made the film possible and created it in the first place, it doesn't help it from the beginning because it just wasn't there, and that's really too bad. But the glory is where we are now, and the chance that it's found a family and everybody else. But okay, trivia. I'm going to screw it up now that I'm on the spot, but I'm going to try.
Let's see if I can help you.
It's not a question. It's not a trivia question. It's some trivia fact.
Oh, even better.
Which is we made the Monster Squad at what was then called the Culver Studios. It's since become Amazon Studios. It's gone through several owners, but it's one of the old school, original studios with sound stages and offices where some of the classics of all time have been made. And when we were shooting there, they were also shooting Masters of the Universe.
Oh, really?
And
that's awesome.
I at that time was close with William Stout, who was the production designer of that movie, and who I worked with on House, the first movie that has my name on it. So I knew Bill, and he had designed that movie, and they were on the stage right next to us. So on one stage, we were shooting Monster Squad, and next to us was Masters of the Universe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You mentioned House. We won't dwell on it too much here, but I think House, of all your films, I think that's the most underrated because we're still in today's day and age where I feel like House should have that Monster Squad mentality that it has now, that massive following, and it never quite got there. But I absolutely love House, and I know a lot of just diehard horror fans that do as well, and it's really too bad that it hasn't got up there.
At least House has a huge Arrow box set.
That's true.
It's well overdue.
Yes,
for
well
that
overdue.
kind of treatment from one of these Umbrella or Arrow or somewhat.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm
William
waiting.
Kent was great.
Right. Randy, I'll pass over to you,
Okay.
and I'll let you ask
so-
Fred some questions here.
Yeah, so this film came out in '87. I was a junior in high school, and I went to the theater to see it and loved it. And I grew up on the Universal monsters, and I want to know, was that the genesis of this film? Because it has to be.
Absolutely. I mean, the Universal Monster Pictures were in syndication when I was a kid. So I would look in the TV guide. This is before you could, you could either record it or stream it or find it easily. And I would, set the alarm and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman or whatever it was. And I had a great affection for all these movies and saw all of them, the Mummy series and the three Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, and obviously Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman. But I was also a big fan of all the comedians of the 30s and 40s, Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy and the Marx Brothers and the Little Rascals. And so at some point, I saw Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is to me the holy grail of my childhood, because it blended those two loves up for me. And so when I was in my 20s and I'd made Night of the Creeps and I was thinking what I want to do next, I said, what if the Little Rascals met the Universal Monsters? And that was the genesis of the idea. I went to my friend Shane Black to write it with me. It was his first screen credit as a writer.
Yes.
And it was our attempt to kind of capture the fun of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where the monsters are the ones you recognize from those other movies and who are actually quite scary, and have the kids be kind of, goofballs and fuck-ups and manage to save the world anyway.
Sweet. So I have to ask now, the makeups, like the Tom Noonan, the
Yes.
Frankenstein
Yes.
monster. So I know it's not a Universal film. So did you shop it to Universal?
We did. We brought the script to Universal, and they saw no value in the IP whatsoever, and
That's amazing.
said to us, this doesn't mean anything to us other than putting Frankenstein on coffee mugs at the studio tour. So we elected to move forward because the characters are all sort of in the public domain. I mean, as long as we don't call the creature from the Black Lagoon, we're kind of okay, because creature is a generic word, and Gillman and all that.
Yeah.
Frankenstein obviously is obviously in the public domain because the book was written 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Same with Dracula. So it made it kind of easy. Wolfman has become kind of a generic term.
Right.
And again, Universal didn't care. They probably could have sued us if they wanted to, but they didn't see any upside to that. So we just proceeded, and we did so very carefully in terms of not, in sort of making sure that the monsters didn't look like the classic Universal monsters.
Right. And when Universal turned it down because they didn't care about the IP, how did that make you feel? I mean, when you grow up on these monsters, and you love them, that's...
I didn't take it personally.
Yeah.
I take it personally now because they've bent over backwards trying to resurrect these characters over the last 20 years.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, I feel like we sort of saw the writing on the wall and they just didn't get it. But that's not uncommon with, studio executives.
Is there anything else you have?
Before we go, I do have a couple more. First of all, I think to this day, I think Universal Monsters, the last time they were done justice was sadly clear back in doing the quasi, even though you couldn't do the official in Monster Squad. I think that was the last time we were really given justice with these creatures, the love for them, the love for the characters, and the love for the design on the special and practical effects level. So that was fantastic. I do have one question I want to end this on, and it's a question I like to ask all the filmmakers we get a chance to discuss and interview. If you had all the money to throw at anything and access to anybody and anyone to work on a project, what would be your ultimate dream project?
Well, I actually wrote my dream project
Okay.
after Monster Squad was completed, but before it was released. I had a deal with the company that made that film and the producers that made that film. Not Peter Hyams, but Rob Cohen and Keith Barish, who were also executive producers on the Monster Squad. And we made a deal for me to write a feature movie version of the old Hanna-Barbera adventure cartoon show, Johnny Quest. And this very day, somebody came up to me and said, I read your Johnny Quest script. I found it online, and I thought it was amazing. And I was very pleased with it. It had a lot of heart, had a lot of action. If you know the cartoon, it was really a love letter to it, sort of, James Bond in the skin of a 12-year-old blonde kid. And we were going to make that movie, and then because Monster Squad didn't do well, they elected not to move forward with it. So that's the one that got away.
Excellent. Well, Fred, we won't take up any more of your time. I cannot tell you how much we can even begin to appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I have a deep, deep personal love with Monster Squad, along with Night of the Creeps and House. It shaped my childhood growing up, so thank you so very much. And thank you for what you've brought to the genre.
Thank you.
I have an 8-year-old nephew, and I have a 9-year-old granddaughter. I've shown them both in the past 3 months, Monster Squad, and they both love it.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
Well, from your lips to God's ears, history will show that it was more loved than it was forgotten.
Absolutely.
By far.
100%. I have an army of nephews between two of my sisters, and I have subjected them all to Monster Squad. And they were all, I literally was on one of them video chatted me on our way home yesterday, and was asking how things are going because I have a podcast. He's like, "Oh, you're famous," and I'm like, "No." But I'm like, "Buddy, guess who I talked to?" And he's like, "Who?" And I'm like, "I got to talk to the people that were in and made Monster Squad." And his face goes, and so it's truly beloved, and it's amazing that this film is still being beloved by children being born within recent years.
Yeah.
It's truly
We were
phenomenal.
discussing with Ashley, and I told Ashley it's the Princess Bride of horror movies.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, it's unforgettable, and it's I don't know. I hope you know how universally loved it is, but it is beyond words how influential and cherished your film is.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. Fred, thank
it's
you.
timeless.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thanks, guys.